Morning everyone. So we are having a recorded discussion for today since your face-to-face class is affected by the Holy Week. So let's proceed with our prayer. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, holy be your name. Your kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our sins, as we forgive those who sinned against us. Do not bring us to the test, but deliver us from evil. Amen. In the name of the Father, the Son, the Holy Spirit. Amen. So now let us proceed with your attendance. So for your attendance, um, I will be giving you an activity, so that serves as your attendance now. And then for recapitulation, so I guess you have already discussed some parts of our topic for today, which is the socio-emotional development of infants and toddlers. So I have also prepared uh, motivational activity for you, but since this is just a recorded discussion, so maybe we'll skip to that. But yeah, the answer in the first one is socio-emotional, and then we have here infant, and then development, toddler, attachment, and temperament. So yeah, let's proceed with our learning objectives. At the end of the lesson, the student should be able to explain the socio-emotional development of infants and toddlers, including attachment, temperament, emotional development, and Erickson's psychosocial stages through guided discussion and questioning, and participate actively in class discussions and share insights on the importance of caregiving in the socio-emotional development of infants and toddlers. And last one, construct appropriate written responses to given situations involving infants and toddlers, demonstrating understanding of attachment, temperament, and caregiving. So I believe that we will be able to achieve our learning objectives for today. So yeah, let's proceed with our main topic for today, which is the socio-emotional development of infants and toddlers. So I believe that you guys already have an idea what is socio-emotional. So simply put, socio-emotional development has something to do with the development of a person's ability to master one's emotions and the ability to relate to others. It necessarily includes temperament, attachments, and social skills. So social emotional development class is about two things. So how a person understands and controls their emotions, and also how a person interacts and builds relationship with others. So for example, when a toddler who stops crying because the toddler is being comforted, so the toddler is eventually learning to manage emotions. Now, if a child shares his or her toys and plays with others, the toddler or the child is learning how to relate to other people. So basically, social emotional has something to do with how you control your emotions and how you interact and socialize with others. So it involves social skills, and it also includes temperament and attachment, which we are going to dig deeper along the way. So let's proceed now with the next slide. So I have here a poem entitled Children Learn What They Live. So let me read it for you. If a child lives with criticism, he learns to condemn. If a child lives with hostility, he learns to fight. If a child lives with fear, he learns to be apprehensive. If a child lives with pity, he learns to feel sorry for himself. If a child lives with ridicule, he learns to be shy. If a child lives with jealousy, he learns to feel guilt. But if a child lives with tolerance, he learns to be patient. If a child lives with encouragement, he learns to be confident. If a child lives with praise, he learns to be appreciative. If a child lives with acceptance, he learns to love. If a child lives with honesty, he learns what truth is. If a child lives with fairness, he learns justice. If a child lives with security, he learns to have faith in himself and those about him. And if a child lives with friendliness, he learns the world is a nice place in which to live. With what is your child living? So this is from Dorothy L. Nolte, trained family counselor. So now let us proceed in discussing the line of this poem. So we are going to discuss the line. So line by line. So first line is, if a child lives with criticism, he learns to condemn. So it means, class, that if a child is always criticized, they will also learn to judge and criticize each other. Do you agree with this line, class? So of course, if a child, he always hear the word like wrong man ka, you are wrong in that certain aspect or in that certain situation, and then the child always hears that, so there's a possibility that the child may grow up finding faults in others too, because that's what he is always being exposed at home or in his or her environment. So if the child always hears mali na, di na insakto. So, of course, the child may grow up finding faults in others too, or in his or her classmates, in his or her friends. So, it is always important for us to not always expose the child in criticism. It is always important to have a balanced criticism, a criticism that makes the child really learn and do better, but not the other way around. Now we have here the second one. If a child lives with hostility, he learns to fight. Now it means that if the environment is full of anger, the child becomes aggressive. So of course, if the parents are always shouting at home, the child becomes aggressive. So it means that the child may eventually grow into a child that hit or shout at classmates, because that child is exposed man sa ilahang home na the parents are always shouting, the parents are always like being, what do you call it, violent. So of course the child may grow up hitting his or her classmates pod or shouting to his or her classmates. So as future parents, we should not let our children hear unnecessary things. So let's proceed with the third line. If a child lives with fear, he learns to be apprehensive. So this line means a child raised in fear becomes what? Anxious and scared. So for example, a child afraid of punishment may be too scared to recite or to try new things. Because kuan man, his environment is full of fear, so he or she may be afraid to try new things. Kay ang nasa yung mindset is mahadlok ko. So the child will not try any longer. So the child will not try anymore. So it, as a future parent, again, you should not let your children live in fear, because it will eventually lead to negative behavior later on or in the future. So we have here the next line. If a child lives with pity, he learns to feel sorry for himself. So what does this mean? It means that if always pitied, the child develops a weak mindset. So if we are always saying as a parent, okay ra na oy, pasagdi lang na siya kay luoy man pud good siya. So the child may grow up dependent and insecure because you are always pitying the child. So the child's mindset becomes okay ra kay kanang pasagdaan naman sa, I mean, okay ra because kanang i-consider naman sa ko, no? So the child may grow up dependent and insecure kay gipiti man, so always ginaspoon feed, because ang always madunggan is okay ra na kay luoy man sad. Okay, so it should be balanced, class. It should be balanced if you are going to be a future parent, you should know when to pity and when to not. Okay? Now, let's proceed, let's proceed to the next line. If a child lives with ridicule, he learns to be shy. So what does this mean? So it means that if a child, or if always laughed at, that child becomes shy and lacks confidence. So I know it is really relatable now when you are really trying your best and then someone laughs at you. Especially if you think that this certain thing is really kanang sakto, it's because you have tried your best, but then someone laughed at you. So it will really make you feel shy, and it will kanang mawala ang imong confidence because of this. Kay you have tried good. So example at school, di ba? If you tried to answer because your teacher is asking you some questions. So you tried to raise your hand for the first time, but then your classmates laughed at you just because your answer is somewhat far from the answer that kanang the teacher is wanting to hear. So your classmates laughed at you. So of course it really loses your confidence, no? So please class, do not be the reason for someone's kanang insecurity. Okay? So a child laughed at for wrong answers may stop participating. So yeah, you should not laugh at someone's answers or ideas. Okay, so next slide. If a child lives with jealousy, he learns to feel guilt. So if always compared, that child feels not good enough. Do you relate to this line, class? Now, if you're always being compared, of course, you will really feel that you are not good enough because maybe your mom and your dad compares you to your neighbor or to your siblings, somewhat like that. So you will really feel that you're not good enough, especially if you are trying your best to meet the expectation of your parent, but then again your parent is, or your parents tries to compare you to other or to other person. So for example, the phrase, why are you not as good as your ate? Why are you not as good as your kuya? So the child feels guilty and insecure. So if you put yourself in this situation, diba, you will really feel that you are not good enough. Okay, so let's proceed with the next line. If a child lives with tolerance, he learns to be patient. So if treated with understanding, that child becomes patient, diba? So kay always man ka, you are always being understood, so you also become patient in the future. So it is important, no, for us to feel that we are really understood by our parents. And then we have here, if a child lives with encouragement, he learns to be confident. So support builds confidence, of course, diba? Because if you are exposed in an environment where your parent or your parents is always supporting you, so of course it really builds your confidence. Because if you try to do this thing, so like for example, you want to join in a beauty contest or dance contest, so your parents are just always on the go to support you, so of course it builds confidence. And then we have here, if a child lives with praise, he learns to be appreciative. So when appreciated, of course, that child learns to value others. So a praised child will also say good job to others. Okay. Naman tayo giingon no nga, mo na yang nakuha sa ilaha, mong ingana po na siya. So, if always siyang gina-appreciate sa ilang panimalay, so of course, the child may also grow up into someone nga mo appreciate sad to other people. So, the child will also say, good job, or nice job, or your performance is really good today. So, yeah. the child will also learn to value others if the environment he is living is very appreciative. Okay? Now let's proceed to the next line. If a child lives with acceptance, he learns to love. So what does this mean? So feeling accepted teaches the child to love others, of course. So a child accepted despite mistakes becomes kind and loving, because the mindset of the child will become, I am accepted despite my flaws. I am accepted despite my mistakes. So I will also learn to love others. So it is really important now that the caregiver or your parents really learn to accept you despite of the wrongdoings. No, kay the child also learns to love others, or the child becomes kind and loving. Okay? Now, let's proceed to the next line. If a child lives with honesty, he learns what truth is. Do you agree with this? So, of course, class, honest environment teaches that child to be what? Truthful. So, parents who tell the truth raise children who value honesty. Okay, again, if the environment that the child is living, kung unsa ang iyahang makita, mo po na siya ang iyahang ma-apply sa iyahang life. So, better as future parents, you should expose your children to honesty, to truthful environment, so that they will also grow up being truthful. Okay? Now, let's move on to the next slide. If a child lives with fairness, he learns justice. So this means class, fair treatment teaches the child what is right and wrong. Diba? So, equal treatment among siblings, teaches fairness. Diba? Kaya if you have seen that there is no bias in the environment that you are living for, so there is an equal treatment among you and your siblings, so of course the child will really know what is right and wrong. And of course, when he grows up, or when she grows up, he will also value equal treatment or fairness. So you better be fair to your children if you are going to be parents in the future. And then, if a child lives with security, he learns to have faith. So this means a safe environment builds trust and confidence. Of course, if that child is living in an environment where he feels secure, so of course that child will really build trust and confidence, diba? A child who feels safe at home becomes confident also in school, since his or her emotions are secured. So he becomes confident at school or anywhere. I'm so sorry for the chickens, for the rooster here, because our neighbors has really a lot of chickens. Anyways, let's proceed. If a child lives with friendliness, he learns the world is a nice place. So, a loving environment makes the child see the world as good and safe. So, of course, no, if you are exposed in a family where your mom and dad is a friendly neighbor to their neighbors, so of course, you will also learn that the world is a good place, no? A good place to live in. So, you will also develop into someone who is also friendly, no? So if someone is kanang maglisod sila o makig-friends, so maybe their environment is the other way around, no? So we should not also judge them. So yeah, friendly surroundings equals child becomes kind and approachable pod. So you must think na karon pa lang na you should always expose your children with positive environment. Okay? Now, let us proceed with the next slide. So, we have here formative years. So, much has been said about the importance of the first 3 years in human development, they are so-called the formative years. That is why parents and other caregivers at this stage of human development, excuse me class, play a significant role in the development of infant years. So, expert says that during the first 3 years of a child's life is very important class, because this is when the brain develops quickly and the foundation of behavior is formed. So that's why it is called the formative years, because this is the first 3 years of your children's development is really crucial. That is why parents and caregivers at this stage of human development play a significant role, because they are the foundation of what the children or what your child might be in the future. So they really play a significant role in the first 3 years of your child's development. So sometimes rich people tends to hire caregivers or yayas to their children. So even if you have a lot of money, it is always important to choose the best caregiver for your children. Kaya there are a lot of news in the internet or in the television na there are yayas who kidnap their kaning ilahang gipang bantayan. So I'm sorry for that noise, guys. Okay. And then even though there are also real life stories na the mother needs to go abroad, and then he or she entrusted her child to the grandmother or the grandfather, but the grandmother is abusive because ang agiapas lang ni grandmother is ang kwarta nga padala ni mother. So as much as possible we should be the one to take care of our children to avoid ingani nga mga situations. So yeah, we should always make sure that during the first 3 years of our child's life, we choose the best caregiver, or we choose to really give the right amount of support, or we should do our best to support our children. Okay, now let's proceed to the next slide. We have here attachment. So what is attachment? So for healthy socio-emotional development, the infant needs to establish an enduring emotional bond characterized by a tendency to seek and maintain closeness to a specific figure, particularly during stressful situations. This is the social phenomenon of attachment. So for a baby to grow emotionally healthy class, they need to form strong and lasting emotional connection with someone. So usually the mother and the father are the main caregiver. So the baby needs someone who makes them feel safe and secure. So always give important nga present si mom or si dad when the child is growing up. So of course, a baby who is always comforted when crying will feel safe and secure and will develop trust. So the moment nga the baby is crying, you should always be attentive and attend to the child, because since they cannot talk yet, all they can do is to express. If, for example, when they are hungry, they tend to cry. If they are in pain, they tend to cry because they cannot utter words yet. So that's their way of communicating to the caregiver or the parent. So if the child cries, so you should be attentive. Okay? So the baby will naturally look for and stay close to someone or to one special person, usually the mother or the father or the main caregiver. So basically, the child has a favorite person. So, diba, if you are exposed to someone, you really tend to be attached because that someone is the one who is always being there for you. So, you tend to find for that someone if you need something. Okay, so let's relate it to your relationship, since abtik man gyud kayo, no, if when it comes to uyab-uyab. So, okay, let's have an example, di ba? If you are starting a relationship, and then you and that person is always conversing with each other. So, di ba, your day feels incomplete if that person is not talking to you. Or if you cannot see that person in a day. So, that is what attachment is, di ba? That is the social bond that you kanang have with another person. So, that's what happens in the infant, or in infants, or in toddlers. So, they are attached usually to their mother because their mother is the ones who is always being there to attend their needs. So, they maintain closeness to a specific figure nga mo'y permi sila kauban. Okay, so it becomes obvious during their stressful situation. Diba? Like for example, when the baby is scared or uncomfortable or upset, they tend to find or to look comfort for their from their caregivers or from their parents. So, for example, when the baby hears a loud noise, they cry. So, they look for their caregivers. Another is when a stranger tries to carry them, diba, they cry because that stranger is considered an unfamiliar face to them. So, they look for their mom and they cry about it. Then, if the baby is sick or if the baby is in pain, so they tend to really look for that one special person whom they are attached with. So, the caregiver or the mother. Okay? So, yeah, let's proceed with the next one, attachment gihapon. According to Dr. John Bowley, the father of attachment theory, the beginnings of attachment occur within the first 6 months of a baby's life with a variety of built-in signals that baby uses to keep her caregiver engaged. And then the baby cries, gazes into her mother's eyes, smiles, and etc. In the next few months, the baby develops in her degree of attachment to her parents. She smiles more freely at them than at any stranger whom she seldom sees. So, and kini si John Bowlby, mga good class, is a psychologist who studied how babies form emotional bonds. Excuse me, ka. Okay. And then, attachment class starts at very early age. So, even within the baby's first 6 months. Sorry kayo, class na po yun. I'm really sorry for this loud noise, class. I hope you, I will just adjust my voice. Okay. So, even newborn babies are already starting to form connection. So, a 2-month-old baby already recognizes their mother's voice or face. Kaya diba, if they see their mom, they also stops crying. Or, I actually came across a post on TikTok. The caption is, give your baby their mother's used clothes and then the baby will automatically stop crying. So, di ba? Ano ba siya? Excuse me for that. So, it's because they can already recognize their mom's voice or face or even the smell of their mother. Ngit-ngit lagi. For a while lang. Okay, so yeah. And then, the baby cries, gazes into her mother's eyes, smiles, and etc. So, of course, when the baby is, again, hungry or uncomfortable, they look for their main caregiver or their mother. If they look at their mother's eyes, they are already building connection. So, as time passes by, the baby's attachment becomes stronger. So, that is why a 6-month-old baby prefers their mother than any strangers. Diba? because they are already attached to their mother than compared to the strangers whom they are not familiar with. Now, the baby can now distinguish between familiar and unfamiliar people. Okay, so let's proceed with the next slide. So, the key to a good start in social development of the baby is a lot of responsive interaction within the baby. So, babies thrive on social interaction when it is in response to their social needs. Babies seem to let us know when they want to interact or not. The timing of the caregiver's response to the baby is important. So, the best way to help a baby develop socially is through frequent and meaningful interaction. So even if the baby cannot talk yet, so you can always try to talk to them, di ba? When they are bubbling, you can talk to them, di ba? Ngayon naman na, like that. So there are a lot of kanang times na you can talk to your child. So also playing peekaboo, di ba? Hadlaan mo imong anak or imong siblings, di ba? And responding when they are crying. Excuse me, class. So yeah, again. And then, excuse me, class, I cough sa lang kayo. Bakoy cough kayo. Okay, so, of course, class, babies grow better when adults respond to their attempts to communicate. Diba? Unlike if you are neglecting your child, you are ignoring them, so of course, they will really feel insecure, diba? There's no security in them, and they will not develop trust. Okay? So, example of social bits is when they are smiling, they are crying, they are bubbling, or they are reaching out. So, it's important for you to be attentive when they do this. So, babies actually give signals, right? If they want attention or if they want to rest. So, if they want attention from you, they will cry. So, it means something. If they want attention from you, they also smile. So, they want connection. If they don't want to interact at all, so, of course, they sleep. Yeah? So, that's it. So, how fast and appropriate the caregiving response really matters. So, okay, usahay ra ba if the baby is crying, pasagdaan sa lang na kay para ma-singer. Is that correct? No? So, of course, if the baby cries, he or she really needs something, so we should always be attentive when that happens. Okay, let's proceed now to the next slide. Other relevant and interesting research findings cited by K. Pasek and R. Golenkov, 2003 in her book Einstein Never Used Flashcards are given below. So what is absolutely central to baby's emotional well-being is not so much feeding, but the consistent involvement of caregivers. Being fed by your mother is not what attached you to her. It is consistent, close nurturing that matters in early relationships. So, children who have good attachment relationship as infants make better adjustments in a number of areas in future life. But remember, having a good attachment in infancy gives you a great start, but can't carry you through life. You have to be treated sensitively and responsibly as you grow up if you are to develop favorably. So, it is being clearly stated here, class, that being fed by your mother is not what attached you to her. So it is not enough that the mother is just always feeding when the child is crying, diba? Because not all the time when the baby is crying, he or she is hungry, diba? Sometimes it means something. So, kanang, it is the consistent close nurturing that matters in early relationship, because what if the child is really in pain, but then the instinct is the baby is hungry, so you automatically breast milk or breastfeed, give your breast milk to your child? No, right? So it is not feeding that attach you to your children. Okay, so children who have good attachment relationship at infants make better adjustments, diba? But it should be consistent and continuous, because it is not enough that you nurtured your child as an infant, as a toddler, but then you stop doing it during their like preschool years, di ba? So it should be continuous for them to really grow into a better version of themselves. So, dili enough nga sa infancy lang nimo care ang imong children or ang imong child. So, it should be consistent and continuous. Okay? So, for them to really grow better. Okay? Now, let us proceed to the next slide. Infants attach more to more than one caregiver. Excuse me, so I'm so sorry for that, class. Our neighbor is using their grass cutter, causing the noise. So yeah, I just waited for them to finish. So yeah, let's continue. So again, infants attached to more than one caregiver, and they are developing emotional relationships with multiple caregivers at once. Even when children are in childcare for more than 30 hours per week, the family contributes more to child's social and cognitive well-being than does the child care arrangement. Parents matter, and children are attached to parents even when children are in childcare. And then parents and caregivers help children regulate their emotions by working with them and by working with them and by serving as their models. So this means, class, that um, wait. Okay, so this means, class, that even if a child spends many hours in daycare, the family still has the biggest influence on their development. Diba? It's the reason why, even though pila sila ka-hours sa daycare, if they see their mom, they automatically runs and go to their moms, because parents really has still, or family still has the biggest influence on their development. So yeah, a child in daycare all day still depends on parents' love, home environment, and family interaction. So no matter where the child goes, of course, their main attachment is still with their parents. So, dako gyud kayo ang influence sa parents sa development sa child. So, as future parents, we should always be the one to support our children, and we should let them feel or make them feel that we are always there for them. So, adults teach children how to manage their emotions. So, because what the children sees, they will copy it. So, they are basically copying adults and apply it to their own lives. So, a calm parent teaches the child to stay calm. And then a shouting parent will also makes the child becomes aggressive. So, when the child is angry and the parent says, "It's okay, calm down, let's talk," so the child learns emotional control. Okay, so that's it. Now, I hope you understand it, even though we have a lot of situations right now, like different background noises. Okay, let's proceed to the next slide, temperament. So we have here temperament. Is a word that captures the ways that people differ, even at birth, in such things as their emotional reactions, activity level, attention span, persistence, and ability to regulate their emotions. Every baby expresses personality traits we call temperament. How a child responds emotionally to objects, events, and people is a reflection of his individual temperament. So, temperament refers, class, to the natural differences between people, and these differences are already present from birth. So, there are babies who are naturally calm. There are also babies who are very energetic, or who tends to react impulsively. So, we can say that babies are born with their own unique personality. So, we can say that temperament is their inborn personality style. So one baby is quiet and calm while the other baby is also active and cries a lot. So babies have different temperaments. So temperament shows in different aspect of behavior skills. So for example, so you will really understand well what is temperament. So for example, you lost a toy, okay? So you tend to react to it so bad to the point that you are crying endlessly because you lost a toy. But then there's this one child also is just carefree when he lost a toy. So hala, nangit. So okay, sorry for that again, class. There's a technical problem in the camera. So yeah, children or babies have different temperaments. So one child maybe reacts differently to a specific situation, but other is also reacting differently from it. So if if the baby number one is calm, then the baby number one is reacting impulsively to it. Okay. Now, temperament is a child's natural personality class. So that is already present at birth, and it affects how they react emotionally, how active they are, and how they behave in different situations. So since every child has a unique personality or has a unique temperament, they respond differently to people, new experiences, events, and their environment. So always take note that babies are different from another. So we should not compare, okay? So let's proceed. Temperament. Researchers Thomas, Chess, and Birch describe 9 different temperament categories. So this includes activity level, mood, threshold for distress, rhythmicity, intensity of response, approach, withdrawal, distractibility, adaptability, and persistence. So we will dig deeper to these categories. So let's proceed with activity level. So some babies are placid or inactive. Other babies thrash about a lot, and as toddlers are always on the move. At this stage, they must be watched carefully. So of course, babies have different energy, diba? So uh, other babies are really energetic, but some are also calm. So I saw a post on TikTok which has the caption like, kalma ra siguro kaayo ka kay imuhang anak is bait. But no, that's not the case. That's not the case for everyone, no, because even if a child is a girl, there's still a possibility that the child is very energetic. And I would like to give my younger sister as an example, because when she is still young, we could not find her here at our house. So we look for her outside, and then there's a long ladder that our neighbor is kanang giplace niya sa ilang gawa sa ilang balay, no, and then gipatong siya pasaka sa atok. So natinga na lang mi kay na didto akong manghod na nasa ibabaw. So no, so that's kanang proof, no, nga lahi-lahi og activity level ang mga bata, lahi-lahi og energy, because there are some babies, di ba, nga magpuyo lang jud pod, but there are also really other toddlers or babies nga dili gyud mahimutang magsigig sa kasaka-saka. So at this stage, they must be watched carefully gyud, kay basin og matinga na lang mo nagwiring na day na sa inyohang balay. Okay, anyways, let's proceed with the mood. Okay, some babies are very smiley and cheerful, although secretly attached emotionally to their teachers. Others have a low-key mood and look more solemn or unhappy. So again, lahi-lahi man ang bata. So some babies are very smiley and cheerful, but there are also kanang mga babies nga kanang low-key lang sila. Low-key lang ilang mood and look more solemn or unhappy, diba? Sometimes we see a cute baby and then we try to smile at them, so they smile back at us very cheerful ang ilahang response ato. But there are also some babies who are just low-key, who will just look at you in the eye and not look more solemn or unhappy. So every child is different, So let's proceed with child's threshold for distress. Some babies are very sensitive. They become upset very easily when stressed. Other babies can more comfortably wait when they need a feeding or some attention. So babies react to stressful events differently because some babies are very sensitive. So they become very upset if their needs are not met kanang dayon. So they tend to really cry a lot, cry loudly, cry non-stop. But other babies can more comfortably wait when they need a feeding or some attention. So ang uban man good is if gutmon sila mag-cry din sila non-stop, but there are also other babies who can wait before they react to something, no. So this is child's threshold for distress. Okay, let's proceed. The rhythmicity of children. Some babies get hungry or sleepy on a fairly regular and predictable basis. Other babies sleep at varying times, urinate or have bowel movements at unpredictable times, and get hungry at different times. They are hard to put on a schedule. So, the rhythmicity of children class, some babies get hungry or sleepy on a fairly regular unpredictable basis. So this means that the mother already knows when gutmon iyang baby, or the mother already knows unsa ang time nga tingkatog sa iyang baby. So for example, if the baby sleeps at 2 a.m., so ana ra pud nga time makatog si mother, no? So another is some babies pod is unpredictable gyud, lahi-lahi ilahang sleeping time, ilang when sila gutmon. So it can be stressful sometimes, no, if kanang maglibog man ka o kanas ba siya tingmata kay lahi-lahi man ang hours or ang time nga iyahang tingmata. So they are really hard to put on a schedule. So yeah, that's rhythmicity of children. Now we have here the intensity of response in each baby. So when a baby's threshold of distress has been reached, some babies act restless. Others act cranky or fret just a little. Still others cry with terrific intensity or howl with despair when they are stressed. They shriek with delight and respond with high energy when reacting to happy or challenging situations. So, the intensity of response in each baby is also different. So, we should not compare, no? Because other babies should, if they are really rich in the moment nga kanang stress na gid sila kayo because wala na meet ang ilang needs, so they tend to really cry non-stop and loudly. They even howl with despair, di ba, kanang muutong na gid sila or kanang mangugat na gid sila og humilak dili gid sila muundang. So that's how some babies respond to distress, while others is mohilak sila but then mo hilom ra pod inagtaon. So that's the intensity of response in each baby. Or if they are also kanang happy, some babies are really laughing at a very kanang grabe lahang kalipay pod, grabe pod ilang katawa. But there are also some child pod or some babies na sakto lang po siya. So that's the intensity of response in each baby. Now we have here approach to new situations. Some infants are very cautious. They are wary and fearful of new teachers, being placed in a different crib, or being taken to visit a new setting. Other infants approach new persons, new activities, or new play possibilities with zest and enjoyment. So the approach to new situations again is different from child to child. So some child is afraid, no, to or they are fearful if they are placed in a new environment or a different grade. So they adjust to it lahi ra, dugay sila maka-adjust. Or if they are being taken to visit a new setting, mo na siya nga kanang maglisod po sila og adjust. So they become really fearful to that a new setting. But other infants approach new persons, new activities, or new play possibility with zest and enjoyment. Diba? There are also children nga bisag bag-o pa lang ka nakita, very approachable, very smiling, dili mahadlok, dili mo ila, diba? Unlike some children, some babies nga grabe gyud mo ila gyud sila, diba? Okay, let's proceed to the next distraction. Okay. Some children can concentrate on a toy regardless of surrounding, bustle, or noise in a room. Others are easily distracted. So, yeah, some children can concentrate on a toy even though there's a lot of noise outside or there's an interesting mga thing. So they can still play with their toy even with those situations or even with those distractions. But there are also other kids no nga gamay kasikas lang ma-distract na dayon. So just like my younger sister. So for example, she is watching a movie in a cell phone right now, but when she hears something interesting, muhawa gina siya. Munang usahay no na mo siya og marites man kabi. Okay, so some children can concentrate bisag daghang noise, but some are easily distracted. Okay, we have here adaptability of each child. Some children react to strange or difficult situation with distress but recover fairly rapidly. Others adjust new situations with difficulty or after a very long period. So the adaptability of each child may vary. So some can adapt quickly, some can also not. So they can adjust to it maybe for a couple of days pa after they can really adjust to it completely. But there are also other child or babies nga dali ra para nila ang mo-adjust or mo-adapt to a new situation. Okay, we have here also child's attention span. Some children have a long attention span. They can continue with an activity for a fairly long time. Others split from one activity to another. So, yeah, parehas sa uban no nga ang dili pare-pareha gyud ang attention span sa mga bata. So, some children have a really long attention span while others flit from one activity to another. So, for example, you let your sibling or you let your baby watch a Cocomelon in YouTube. So, some kanang makaya nila mo tan-aw until mahuman ang Cocomelon. But there are also children nga maboringan na sila, mawala na ilang attention ana nga Cocomelon or ana nga show. So, they will flit from one activity to another because they want to like entertain themselves with another activity. So the attention span of children may vary from child to child. Okay, now let us proceed to the next slide. Okay, nanapoy banha, so sorry for that. So based on this temperament traits, psychiatrist Alexander Thomas and Stella Chess studied babies' temperament and clustered temperaments into 3 basic types. So we have here the easy child, the difficult child, and the slow to learn child. So let's have first the easy child. So the easy child readily establishes regular routines, is generally cheerful, and adapts readily to new experiences. So, the easy child class is usually happy and positive. So, the child is predictable. The child has a predictable schedule. So, the baby sleeps and eats at the same time every day, and they are also easy to manage, diba? So that is why they are labeled as the easy child because they are easy to manage man. Dili sila lisod bantayan and adapts readily to new experiences. So they can easily adapt to new situations. New lang na sa ilang new na nga experiences para sa ilaha, but they can really easily adapt to it. Now we have also here the difficult child is irregular in daily routines, is slow to accept new experiences, and tends to react negatively and intensely to new things. So the child has unpredictable schedule. So ani na belong tong mga child nga kanang maglisod si mommy og identify when ilang tingkaon, when ilahang sleep. So those are difficult child. So sleeping and eating times are not consistent. So if 2 a.m. karon basin ugma is 12 a.m. na po. So they are really difficult to manage. That's why they belong to the difficult child, and they can also react negatively and intensely to new things. So they tend to really cry non-stop if the situations or the situation for them is new. Now we have here slow to warm up child. So shows mid low-key reactions to environmental changes, is negative in mood, and adjusts slowly to new experiences. So this child class reacts quietly or not strongly. So mild lang siya, na siya sa average, dili siya easy, dili po siya difficult. So mo-react siya quietly or not strongly. Not very expressive, doesn't cry loudly or laugh loudly. So the child may seem serious, shy, or not very cheerful. Okay? Does not smile easily or looks uncomfortable. So the child needs time before becoming comfortable po. So at first, shy in class, but after a few days, become okay. So there are child like that, diba? If you can see. So the slow to warm up children class are shy but eventually adjust with time. So understanding these types of this type helps caregivers respond properly to each child's needs. Okay. So now let's proceed. Shh. I'm so sorry for that. My younger siblings are quarreling. Okay, so we have here the development of emotions. So here are milestones of the baby and the toddler's emotional development and social development. So early infancy, birth 6 months. Birth to 6 months. It is not clear whether infants actually experience emotions or if adults using adult facial expressions as the standard simply superimpose their own understanding of the meaning of infant facial expression. So between 6 and 10 weeks, a social smile emerges, usually accompanied by other pleasure indicative actions and sounds, including cooing and mouthing. As infants become more aware of their environment, smiling occurs in response to a wider variety of contexts. They may smile when they see a toy they have previously enjoyed. Laughter, which begins at around 3 or 4 months, requires a level of cognitive development because it demonstrates that the child can recognize incongruity. That is, laughter is usually elicited by actions that deviate from the norm, such as being kissed on the abdomen or a caregiver playing peekaboo, because it fosters reciprocal interactions with others. Laughter promotes social development. So, before I will proceed on discussing this part class, let me just pause for a minute because nagbanha na sad. I'm so sorry for that. Okay, so let's proceed class. I'm really sorry for the plus mga inconveniences na to karong adlawan. So, experts are not completely sure if babies truly feel emotions the same way adults do, or they are just showing reactions. So, we don't know if a baby is really happy or if it just looks like happiness. So, sometimes adults interpret, diba, the baby's facial expression based on their own understanding. Even if the baby might not feel the exact emotion yet. So, di ba, mo lagi na siya nga, ang instinct sa adults, if the baby is crying, is the baby is hungry. So, the mother will automatically feed the baby. But maybe, the baby is just having a stomach pain, di ba? So, or sometimes the baby just smile, di ba? So, adults say, if the baby smile, adults say, oh, the baby is happy. But the baby might just be reacting, not fully understanding happiness yet. Diba? So, around 1 to 2 months old, babies begin to show social smile, which is a real smile in response to people. This is the baby's true interaction smile now. Okay? So, when the mother smiles, the baby smiles back. Okay? Along with smiling, babies also show happiness through cooing, diba? Soft sounds like, ooh, just like that, diba? And mouthing, putting things in their mouth. So, a baby smiles, makes soft sounds, and moves happily when seeing a familiar face. And yeah, babies can remember enjoyable experiences and react positively to them because they are, while they are also growing, their cognitive development is also growing. So it shows that um, they can already recognize something. So if they see familiar toys na na-play na nila before, they also smile at that. If they see familiar faces, just like their mothers or their siblings, their ates and their kuyas, so they smile to them because they can already recognize those people. So let's have later infancy, months 7 to 12. So during the last half of the first year, infants begin expressing fear, disgust, and anger because of the maturation of cognitive abilities. So at around 7 to 12 months, babies are starting to show more complex emotions like fear, disgust, and anger. So their emotions are becoming what? Becoming more advanced, not just simple reactions. So baby shows disgust when tasting something bitter, diba? It's pait, something like that. And the baby gets angry when a toy is taken away from him or from her, diba? They can already start showing complex emotions during later infancy, months 7 to 12. Or they can also feel the embarrassment if they have done something wrong, like if, for example, they dropped a glass of water and then the mother tries to scold the baby, so they can already feel embarrassment because of that. So, yeah, they are already maturing. So, it shows the maturation of cognitive abilities. So, fear also emerges during this stage as children become able to compare an unfamiliar event with what they know. Unfamiliar situations or objects often elicit fear responses in infants. One of the most common is the presence of an adult stranger, a fear that begins to appear at about 7 months. A second fear of this stage is called separation anxiety. Infants 7 to 12 months old may cry in fear if the mother or caregiver leaves them in an unfamiliar place. So during class, later infancy, they can already start to have the emotions like fear. So the presence of an adult stranger, they fear them, diba? Because it's unfamiliar to them, so they feel scared or uncomfortable with it. So it happened to me during the last fiesta in Dampas. So I tried to carry my niece, but then I am considered as an unfamiliar face to her already because we did not see each other for about 3 months. So when I tried to grab her, she really cried because I'm a stranger to her already. Okay. And then the second fear is separation anxiety. So infants 7 to 12 months old may cry in fear if the mother or caregiver leaves them in an unfamiliar place. So also po, if the mother tries to leave for work, diba, the baby tends to cry because they don't want to be separated from their mothers. So they really cry. So that is called separation anxiety. They don't want to be separated from their caregivers. So if, for example, your mother is about to go to the mall for groceries, and then your younger sibling may really cry because of separation anxiety. Okay? Now let's proceed to social referencing. Charby Painay, infants begin to recognize the emotions of others and use this information when reacting to novel situations and people. As infants explore their world, they generally rely on the emotional expressions of their mothers or caregivers to determine the safety or appropriateness of a particular endeavor. So, infants already begin to recognize the emotions of others, no? So if they see their mothers, or if the infant see that their mother is smiling, so they already tend to smile. If they see that their mother is in fear, they also feel the fear. And if they see that their mom is somewhat angry, so they also interpret this information, so they also begin to like cry because of the expression of their mother. So they generally rely on the emotional expressions of their mothers or caregivers to determine the safety or appropriateness of a particular endeavor. Okay, so we have here toddlerhood years 1 to 2. So during the second year of infants, during the second year, infants express emotions of shame, embarrassment, and pride. These emotions mature in all children, and adults contribute to their development. So what's just what I have said earlier. Um, if, for example, they drop something, they already know the consequences of their actions, so they feel the shame or embarrassment because they know that this certain thing that they have done is not appropriate, so they feel embarrassment or they feel shy about it, especially if their mom or their dad tries to scold them for it. Okay, so let's proceed already with the emotional understanding. So during this stage of development, toddlers acquire language and are learning to verbally express their feelings. This ability, rudimentary is as it is during early toddlerhood, is the first step in the development of emotional self-regulation skills. So in infancy, children largely rely on adults to help them regulate their emotional states. If they are uncomfortable, they may be able to communicate this state by crying but have little hope of alleviating the discomfort on their own. And in toddlerhood, however, children begin to develop skills to regulate their emotions with the emergence of language, providing an important tool to assist in this process. So being able to articulate an emotional state in itself has a regulatory effect in that it enables children to communicate their feelings to a person capable of helping them manage their emotional state. Speech also enables children to self-regulate, using soothing language to talk themselves through difficult situations. So, in infancy class, since infants cannot still talk yet, so their way of expressing or communicating their emotions to their caregivers is just by crying. But in toddlerhood, however, children begin to develop skills to regulate their emotions with the emergence of language. So therefore, they can already start to formulate words or utter words. Such, for example, if they are hungry, they can already say, I want to eat, or they can really say, diba, if the child says, mamam, diba, it translates to water. If the child wants to poop, they can already try to say pupu, di ba? So, the emergence of language is they can already better communicate with their caregivers. So, speech enables children to self-regulate using soothing language to talk themselves through difficult situations. So, if, for example, also that child wants to like um, go to the CR, they can already say those things to their caregivers. Or if there's something painful in the parts of their body, they can already start to point at it. So, my tummy hurts, something like that. So, the difference between infancy and toddlerhood: in infants, they can communicate their needs through crying. In toddlerhood, they can already start to formulate some words better, diba? Okay, now let's proceed to the empathy. A complex emotional response to a situation also appears in toddlerhood. Usually by age 2, the development of empathy requires that children read others' emotional cues, understand that other people are entities distinct from themselves, and take the perspective of another person, put themselves in the position of another. So as what we can see here in the picture, the baby boy starts to recognize that the baby girl is crying. So the baby boy really looked the expression of the baby girl. So he sees that the baby is crying. So the baby boy already start to interpret it that the baby is sad or the baby is crying over something. So he tries to put himself in the position of this baby girl. So uh, if the baby girl is sad, the baby boy can also really feel sad about what the baby is feeling. So they can both feel sadness na, because the baby boy tries to put himself in the position of this little girl. So um, empathy occurs na during this stage. Understood? Na? Okay, let's proceed to the next slide. So, we are now here in Erickson's psychosocial theory, the first two stages. Of the 8 stages of a person's psychosocial development apply at the periods of infancy and toddlerhood. That is why they are discussed below. So, we have here hope, trust versus mistrust, infants 0 to 1 year. Psychosocial crisis, trust versus mistrust, virtue, hope, and then autonomy versus shame, shame and doubt. Psychosocial crisis, autonomy versus shame and doubt. Main question: can I do things myself or must I always rely on others? And the virtue is will. So let's first tackle the hope, trust versus mistrust. So infants 0 to 1 year. So psychosocial crisis, trust versus mistrust. The virtue, hope. The first stage of Erik Erikson centers around the infant's basic needs being met by the parents. The infant depends on the parents, especially the mother, for food, sustenance, and comfort. So the child's relative understanding of world and society come from the parents and their interaction with the child. If the parents expose the child to warmth, regularity, and dependable affection, the infant's view of the world will be one of trust. And the other way around, if the parents fail to provide a secure environment and to meet the child's basic need, a sense of mistrust will result. So according to Erikson, the major developmental task in infancy is to learn whether or not other people, especially primary caregivers, regularly satisfy basic needs. So if caregivers are consistent sources of food, comfort, and affection, an infant learns trust that others are dependable and reliable. If they are neglectful or perhaps even abusive, the infant instead learns mistrust, that the world is an undependable and unpredictable and possibly a dangerous place. So this is really very understandable naman, no? So if the caregiver consistently shows support, consistently shows love to the infant, of course the infant will build trust, or the infant will really trust the caregiver or the mother. Whereas if the caregiver really tends to be abusive, not dependable, if they are crying, the caregiver will not attend to them. So of course, they will really it will really result to mistrust, because I cannot trust this caregiver, because when the time or by the time that I needed him or her, she did not attend to my needs. She did not become really very attentive to me. So I will not trust her. So, diba? It will result to mistrust. But if again the caregiver really shows empathy, trust, I mean empathy and care to the baby, of course the baby will learn to trust that the mindset also of the child is the world is a place where dependable people are present. Okay, now let's proceed with the second wheel, autonomy versus shame and doubt. So toddlers 2 to 3 years. So the main question, can I do things myself or must I always rely on others? Now, as the child gains control over eliminative functions and motor abilities, they begin to explore their surroundings. The parents still provide a strong base of security from which the child can venture out to assert their will. The parents' patience and encouragement help foster autonomy in the child. Yan ang ningkusog naman sad na. Excuse me for that, yes. Charby! I'm so sorry for that. Yes, okay. And then we have here highly restrictive parents, however, are more likely to instill in the child a sense of doubt and reluctance to attempt new challenges. So as they gain increased muscular coordination and mobility, toddlers become capable of satisfying some of their own needs. They begin to feed themselves, wash and dress themselves, and use the bathroom. So if caregivers encourage self-sufficient behavior, toddlers develop a sense of autonomy, a sense of being able to handle many problems on their own. But if caregivers demand too much too soon, refuse to let children perform tasks of which they are capable, or ridicule early attempts at self-sufficiency, children may instead develop shame and doubt about their ability to handle problems. So it is also understandable na po, no, if caregivers really encourage um, toddlers that the caregiver says, wow, very good, or the caregiver says, you can do it. So of course, the toddler will really feel that the will really develop a sense of autonomy that they can do it. Diba? If the caregivers let them do the things that they are capable of, so of course, that child will develop a sense of autonomy that they can do this certain kind of things. But if the caregivers demand too much, if the caregivers do not let the child perform the tasks that they are capable of, or if they will just laugh at the toddler, or they will just laugh at the child, so of course that child will develop shame and doubt, diba? Because if the caregiver laughs at something that the child is capable of, so of course mahulaw pud ang bata. And if kanang they will also say things nga, dili pa man kakamao ana, dili pa ka pwede ana. So of course the child will develop doubt to themselves na yun man si mama, dili pa na ko kaya. So of course they will really not try anymore. So this negative approach from caregivers will really develop to shame and doubt. Okay, so we must really know when and where to like say things like dili pa pwede, or kanang we must know for the times when we need them to let them do things on their own. Okay, now let's proceed to the summary of what toddlers and infants can do socio-emotionally. So subdomain emotional expression. So the child expresses different basic emotions. So from 0 to 6 months, we have here cries in different ways to express different needs, such as when they are hungry, sleepy, and wet. Shows excitement or pleasure by moving arms, kicking, moving the entire body and face lighting up, and then smiles or laughs in response to a pleasant experience, caregiver singing to him or her. Amuses self by simple repetitive muscle movements without objects, rolling back and forth. And then amuses self by simple repetitive muscle movements with objects, shaking, rattle. And then likes playing with water, enjoy going to the park. So also shows fear and hesitation towards unfamiliar person. So these are the socio-emotional development of a baby during 0 to 6 months old. So they cannot talk yet. So again, their way of expressing themselves is in a form of crying or smiling if they are happy. So yeah, they enjoy also going to park and shows fear and hesitation towards unfamiliar person. Now we have here 7 to 12 months has a favorite toy. So they already start to have a favorite toy during this age. 7 to 12 months or 7 to 1 year old. So nana sila yung mga favorite toy nga always nila gina-play. So, during 13 to 18 months, smiles, laugh when happy or amused, cries when sad, angry or scared, shows varying degrees or intensities of various emotions. So, yeah, they can already really smile or laugh when happy or amused. They can already have a genuine smile and laugh in response to people. They can already really cry and they get really sad or scared. So those are genuine emotions already and shows varying degrees or intensity of various emotions. Now let's proceed to the standards 12. The child demonstrates ability to self-regulate feelings, emotions, and follow schedules as well as rules and regulations. So 0 to 6 months stops crying almost immediately when need is met. So for example, if he or she is hungry, then the mother breastfeed the child, so they automatically stops crying. Or if the baby is somewhat like feeling hot, so if the mother will turn on the electric fan, the baby automatically stops crying. So if their needs is kanang na-meet, so of course they will really stop crying and eventually gets amused to an irritating experience. So like example, honking horn and calms down. So if di ba makurat man gid ang bata if makadungog sila og something loud, so they will really be irritated to it and they will eventually cry. So that's the socio-emotional development of 0 to 6 months in standard 12. And then from 13 to 18 months, so basically this is 13 months to 1 year old and 6 months. So, able to stop an undesirable behavior or activity when instructed to do. So, can calm down or stop tantruming with help from adults, can follow simple rules. So, if the baby is instructed by their caregivers to like calm down, or kanang when the parents tries to say shh or something like that, diba? They can already start stop tantruming. They can also follow simple rules like do not touch the, for example, do not touch the TV, do not touch the that one, do not eat that one because that is dirty. So they can already follow simple rules during this age. Now we have your 19 to 24 months, can wait his or her turn, shows ability to contain his or her expression of anger or frustration when source is removed, shows ability to contain one's expression of anger or frustration in a public place when asked by parents, tries to control his tears when in pain or scared. So they are already maturing during this age. Now they can already control their emotions. So it is not so much stressful in the part of the caregiver. So control is naana sa ilaha during this age, diba? They can already wait for their turns, shows ability to contain one's expression or anger when in public places, diba? When the mother tries to say shh, mga tao nagtanaw, oh. So they can already like stop the tantrums or the crying. And then standards 1.3, the child comprehends and displays self-appraisal emotions. Shame, pride, and guilt. So smiles or claps his hands when she displays a learned behavior, so from 7 to 12 months. So for example, the baby can already start to feed him or herself, or can already start to drink from a glass of water or from a cup. So they really express it through smiling and clapping because they know that they already learned this behavior. And we have here, next slide, 13 to 18 months, recognizes and is able to label self-appraisal emotions such as shame, pride, guilt, envy, and jealousy. So, will do something that gets him her praise, doing a task properly, singing, and etc. So, yeah. So, just like in here, in the example, what kini nga bata no na kaybaw na siya magtay sa iyang shoelace, so will do something that gets him praise. So the mother will praise him or her, wow, very good, you can already tie your own shoelace. So more ganahan sila ma-acknowledge, ma-recognize sa ilahang mga learned behavior, and they can already do task properly. Like also singing, di ba? If they can already, or some other nursery rhyme. So they want to get praised, so they can already perform task properly. And we have here 19 to 24 months, shows interest in doing things that are her own creation, says sorry when she has made a mistake or has hurt someone. So shows interest in doing things that are her own creation is, for example, they during this age, they want to draw and draw and draw, diba? What else? Or if they are playing a Lego and then they start to form different figures out of it, and then they say sorry when she made a mistake or hurt someone. So for example, here in the element, the baby nabuak ni ang baso, so maka-feel na siya og kanang shame pud ana. So they can also start to say sorry or feel sorry about it. Okay, now let us proceed with this one. Subdomain social emerging sense of self. So the child expresses knowledge of self and basic roles of people in her immediate environment. So explores 0 to 6 months, explores own body. Example, observes hands and toes, often smiles and vocalizes. Looks at self in the mirror and responds to own name by turning to look or reaching to be picked up when called. So just like the example GIF here, so they look at self in the mirror. They can already see their reflection on the mirror, and then they can already respond when being called. So like for example, your name is Janice. So if the mom calls the name of Janice, the baby can already start to recognize that it is her name. Okay, and then we have here 7 to 12 months, identify self in the mirror. Okay, again, or photographed by a patting or pointing to his or him image. So not just in the mirror but also in a photograph. If he or she sees he or her or himself in the photograph, so she can already point that this is me, or this is me, or that is me. Okay, now 13 to 18 months, identifies what part of his or her body hurts by pointing to this, refers to self by first or nickname. Wait for a minute. Okay. Calls family members by their name role, like mama, papa, ate, kuya. Ask for what she needs without hesitation, and expresses dislike or disagreement. No, ayaw, but in a manner that remains respectful and polite. And then identifies self by first and last name, identifies what part of his or her body hurts by naming it. So let's see this video.
Next one, this one. Show your nose. How about your mouth? How about your ears? Head. Where's your head? Where's your head? Wow.
class, so they can already start the word mama, papa. They can already know the parts of their body, and they can already say no if they don't really want something. And also they can already identify their first and last name when they reach the age of 2, and identifies which part of his or her body hurts by naming this. And then we have here subdomain social forming attachments. So the child forms healthy attachments to primary caregivers and other significant adults and the children in his her life. So 0 to 6 looks for caregiver during times of distress or discomfort. Shows distress, inability to eat or sleep, crying, primary caregiver is absent. So, of course, they really look for their caregiver, the moms, during the times of distress or discomfort, or if they are hungry again and again and again, if they are in pain. So, need kayo nila age ang ilahang caregiver or their moms. And then 13 to 18 months is affectionate towards primary caregivers and other family members. Goes to primary caregivers for help, is comfortable in the company of strangers if primary caregiver is present, may play alone but likes to be near familiar adults or siblings, hugs or cuddles toys, enjoy playing regularly with significant adults and children, and then eventually moves away from primary caregivers when playing with unfamiliar children or adults but may look occasionally in his her direction. So this is the social development of babies or children during this age. So they can already start to like socialize with other children during this. I have here standard 1. The child plays and has positive interactions with other children. So plays with toys by himself, mouths, examine, swipes toys. So this is already discussed by Mom Janice Puno. They also smiles in response to the facial expressions of other children. So if the other children smiles at them, they also respond to it by smiling back. Looks at other children with interest, watching them play, displays amusement, interacting with other children. So the social skills is being emphasize ani. So 7 to 12 months engages in play alongside but not necessarily with other children. Plays with other children and so they already start to socialize with other children. Play cooperatively with other children, may hug, kiss, or hold hands with other children. Shows or shares food, books, and toys with other children. Asks to play with other children or invites them to play with them. So they can already start to share foods, hold hands, kiss other children, diba? I have always seen this scenarios with my younger siblings po. And asks to play with other children or invites them to play with him or her. So the social skills is really already developing. Talks to other children, asks them questions, shows preference for some children, and interacts more with them. Then we have here subdomain social interactions with adults. The child has positive relations and interactions with adults. We look at adults' faces and make eye-to-eye contact, listens to verbalizations by adult, coos or smiles when talked to by familiar adult, and plays peekaboo interactively with others. Please excuse me for a while. So now let us proceed. 7 to 12 months, hugs, pats, kisses, familiar persons. So they can already start to recognize familiar persons, so they are comfortable with them, so they tend to hug, pats, and kiss them. And then 13 to 18 months, friendly with strangers, but initially may show slight anxiety or shyness, and ask adults other than primary caregiver or adult family members for help or to indicate what she wants or needs, and then willingly does what familiar adults ask her to do. Appropriately use cultural gestures of greeting without prompting, like mano or bless or kiss. So during 13 to 18 months old, they can already be kanang commanded. So, pwede na masugo na ni nga edad, and they can already start to show appropriate gestures such like doing the mano or the bless, just like in the example picture, diba? And they can already show slight anxiety or shyness when they are with strangers. So here in the picture pod shows, diba, the baby is clinging onto her mom because she sees or he sees unfamiliar face. So we have here also subdomain social pakikiramdam or sensitivity. The child takes social cues from the environment and adjusts his behavior accordingly. So 0 to 6 months is shy or more quiet with strangers, refers to caregiver for cues about novel situations, people, or objects. So understandable, they are really more into their moms or their caregivers. And then 13 to 18 months usually quiets down or stops when caregiver sushes him or her, takes notice when there is a sudden change in mood of caregiver or people around him or her. So during 13 to 18 months, the baby can already stop crying if the mother says shh, diba? Takes notice when there is a sudden change in the mood, caregiver, or people around them. So they can already start to recognize these moods during 13 to 18 months. And then 19 to 24 months, if she needs something, can wait quietly as told until caregiver is able to attend to him or her. So mas taas-taas na ang patience during this age because they can already wait quietly as told until caregiver is able to attend to him or her. Mas magka-mature na ang ilahang behavior. And then subdomain, social, appreciating diversity. So the child recognizes and respects similarities and differences in people, language, and culture. So treats house help or those less fortunate with respect, talking to them in a polite manner. So yeah, they can help na other kids who really needs help. They can already start to recognize if someone needs their help by also helping them. So as what we can see here in the picture, diba, the baby girl also helped another baby girl to climb into that wall. And then there's other picture, diba, the baby is socializing with another baby and help the other baby to put on the lid of the something Tupperware. Okay, so we have here. Okay, so I hope class that you have understood a lot from this recorded discussion. So I'm really sorry if we need to have this recorded discussion since yeah, we are affected and we are going to celebrate the Holy Week. Now, let's have this question. Based on what we have discussed, how does attachment influence the behavior of toddlers? So, since you are not here, man, to answer this question, so let's just you internalize right now while you are watching this recorded discussion. So based on what we have discussed, how does attachment influence the behavior of infants and toddlers? So of course, class no attachment plays a very important role in shaping the behavior of infants and toddlers because it serves as the foundation of their emotional and social development. So, yeah, that is why ingana siya. So, kani ang attachment influences behavior by making children feel um, either secure or insecure. So, secure attachment leads to confidence and positive effect, independence and good emotional control, while insecure attachment pod may result in fear, may result in dependence, may result in difficulty managing emotions later on. So, it's always important to really take care of our children properly. And now we have our activity, case analysis. So, we have here read and understand each situation. For every situation, answer the question provided using a 1/2 sheet of paper. So instead of having a 1/2 sheet of paper, I will be sending a Google form para dili na mo mahago and para makita na po dayon ang score. So Thank you so much, everyone. Here's the criteria. And then, thank you so much, everyone, for maybe listening and watching this recorded discussion. So I really hope that you have understood our discussion for today. And goodbye, and see you around.